Well, welcome to Angel Stadium in Anaheim. We are squinting because the sun is shining on Monster Energy Supercross. It has been a phenomenal year so far. We head to the third race of this Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship Tour. Jason Weigandt, Jim Holley here in the outfield, and the Big A is behind us. Anaheim 1 is behind us as well. When we were here 2 weeks ago, Jim, it was spectacular racing. Phoenix just kind of added some fuel to the fire, so we expect good things this weekend.
Well, I think, coming into Anaheim2 here, they changed the track around a lot, and I think that's going to lend itself. I mean, you go back looking at that race last week in Phoenix. I mean, that was a dogfight out there. I mean, those guys were battling. It just looks like James's bike still isn't quite happy, with it yet. He's got to make some changes, but he's got to make it quick because, I mean, some of those things, it looked like he almost got off, and Reed looks very comfortable on that Suzuki. I mean, he's riding that Suzuki like a two-stroke. I mean, he is throwing that thing around. He's squaring off all the corners. The thing is just sitting right underneath him beautifully through all the rhythm sections and the whoops. It could be Reed's night tonight.
Well, Stewart's going to need some help because he's pretty far behind on points even with that win last week in Phoenix. But I think there's a lot of other riders that no excuses now. The opening round jitters are done. They have the chance to get their bikes underneath them. There's a lot of guys that want some podium real estate. And so far, Josh Grant's been the head of that field. And that means there's a lot of high-priced talent that hasn't been in the box yet.
Well, and you mentioned that high-priced talent. That's going to be Andrew Short. But he had a podium here at the first round. He finished up second. Last weekend he had that fifth. His teammate Ivan Tedesco had the fourth. I'm sure Eric Keel and the guys at Honda are saying, hey, you know what? We got to get some more podiums, guys. I need you guys up there. Kevin Windham had a decent ride last weekend. But a lot of guys still are struggling. And I'm talking about Mike Alessi. I mean, 2 11th places, in the first 2 rounds. So he's got to step it up. And where he's got to start at is his confidence. I don't think he's confident yet. You haven't seen him get any hole shots. And normally last weekend at this, or last year at this time, we saw him with all the hole shots. So that's another rider that's going to have to step it up. Josh Hill had a pretty good ride last weekend. Not too bad. He was inside the top 10. But there again, I'm sure Yamaha wants to get him on that podium.
And Davey Millsaps as well. There's a lot of guys that people are expecting to break through. And that doesn't even bring up the 2 Kawasaki riders who are expected to maybe even contend for the title. Tim Ferry's been so-so, and Ryan Villopoto's found the going pretty rough in the main events.
Well, and the thing about it is with Ryan Villopoto is he's finding that main event hard, but he's finding the heat races phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's winning them. He's having a good time out there. Last weekend, Chad got him, though, but he was out there leading it again. A 5th and a 7th for Ryan Villopoto to start out the season, not bad. I mean, that's I'm sure Cowie, like you said, wants him to be up there. But and you mentioned Timmy Ferry, he's struggling a little bit. I'm sure he wants a podium. So, each round past this race is going to get better and better because all those guys are going to be trying harder and harder.
That's right. There's no more excuses. They're not nervous anymore. They should have their bikes where they want to be. But before we move to the lights class, I want to ask you about James Stewart. How much work can be done in 1 week? Can they figure out? Will it be a week-to-week thing, or can he just show up one night and suddenly have that bike dialed in?
Well, the problem is, and this is my opinion, of course, that he went out and came out and won the U.S. Open. He went to Bercy. Those are small arena cross tracks. And, you think, all right, man, the bike's working great.
Right.
You're at your track in Florida, you're at Yamaha's test track here in Corona, California. Everything's working good. Your body positioning, the suspension, you think you got your settings right. You come here and you got Chad Reed dogging you. You ride a little different. You change your body positioning. You drive into the corners harder. You get on the throttle that much harder. You try a little bit harder than you do in practice. Even though they still got the lap times on the track, it's not like having somebody dog you. Can you make adjustments during the week? Yeah, I mean, I think the bike's going to be, each week it's going to get better and better for James Stewart. And here's the thing about it, and I made the mention last week to go by the pits after. After you win a main event, your first one in almost a year for James Stewart, you think, he's out there signing autographs and everything. The San Manuel pits, there was nobody in there. Everybody was in the semi with a meeting. Larry Brooks, James's dad, James, the suspension technicians, all the engineers, everybody was in that truck because I'm sure that James was in there going, man, I won that thing, but I do not feel comfortable on this motorcycle yet. So what do we have to do to fix it? And I'm sure that they went out this week and they had a good practice, I'm sure Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and possibly even on Thursday. Took a day off Friday, come here Saturday. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope we made the changes in the right direction.
Remember, that team does not have much room for error considering the 19th place they took here in Anaheim 1. They need to win races and get back in the points. Let's talk about the points in the Supercross Lights class. I think Ryan Dungey and Jason Lawrence, Trey Kennard, they were the kind of the odds-on favorites coming in. Already trouble for Lawrence and Kennard, but Dungey still has his hands full. The Kawasaki boys are going fast.
They are. Jake Weimer and Ryan Morris. Both Ryan Morris has had 2 podiums. Weimer's had a win and a 4th. I thought maybe he could have won that one last weekend in Phoenix. It's just unfortunately he had that problem in the sand. He's got his hands full with the Cowie guys. He's in familiar grounds. He's got a 29-point lead on Jason Lawrence with 6 rounds to go. If Jason Lawrence wins the rest of the 6 and he finishes second, well, there you go. He's going to lose 30 points. So, Jason will be in the lead by 1 or win the championship. But that's a far stretch. I mean, I'm just, like you said, he's got to worry about the Kawasaki guys at this point. And Lawrence, he's just got to worry about trying to get wins.
And we hear that Trey Kennard will be out for this weekend. Then next week we have a weekend off for the West Riders, and we'll start our Eastern Region Lights Tour. So Kennard we will not see back until San Francisco. So strike one guy already from that Lights contender list. But you never know in the Lights class. You cannot count on getting second or first every week.
No, and I mean, another guy knocking on the door, Justin Brayton, had a great ride last weekend. Him and Reardon came together at Anaheim2. I look for Daniel Reardon to start getting some podiums, and there's other guys. I mean, talk about Chris Blows. I mean, he's been real consistent for the Troy Lee team. So Chris Blows is knocking on the door for some podiums also.
Well, that's what we like about this 2009 season so far. It's been very hard to predict. We really don't know what's going to happen tonight, so you better tune into our live webcast right here on supercrossonline.com.